Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meticulous Talks on February 4th. I am Cursed Chords.
And I'm Hifrock.
How you doing, Hithrock?
It's winter. Gonna be over soon though. Sad.
Yeah, it's winter here too. Not quite as bad as it's been, or as good as it's been, depending on your perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, I guess, in a manner of speaking, kind of you could consider it the second half of the post Vancouver stream. We had talked about the decks last 2 weeks ago. Now we're talking about the other big news, which was the quite sizable game update that followed after the con.
Yep.
The rules change, which was, well, that was clearly telegraphed ahead of time. We knew that one was coming. But also the 6 cards? Or 7?
No, 7? I can't count. Yeah, it is 7.
Yeah.
Problems. We don't get the problems very often.
Yeah, and well, 3 of them, and they're all from the same set, too, interestingly enough. They're all New Dawn problems.
Yep.
And, well, both of the blue problems from New Dawn, which may say something about the meta as it is right now. Not something that anyone probably would have had difficulty guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, whether it be core or adventure, since we haven't had much Harmony play lately, but there was a lot of blue around, and it was probably necessary that something be done.
Mm-hmm.
And admittedly, and I suppose we'll get to this, but the changes to those problems were pretty minor.
Don't agree on all of them, but sure.
But well,
Or you mean like text changes or
well,
functional changes? Some are pretty big for at least one of them.
well, for Under the Weather, yes.
Yeah.
Or for the blue ones, you could argue, like especially in the early game, that the 1AT Untarnished Reputation is a big deal. Which, I mean, it is. Yeah.
1AT is infinitely more than 0AT.
In relative terms.
But yeah, we should not really get ahead of ourselves, I guess.
Yeah. Let us take it one at a time. I suppose we'll start very quickly with those rules changes. Because is that on the wrong? I bet on the wrong screen. No, it's good. So there was the thing about who goes first. Everybody already knew about. Just to be super clarifying, that yeah, at the start of the game now we randomly choose who gets to choose whether they want to go first or second.
Yeah.
And then on both players' first turn, they don't draw, but the second player gets an extra AT. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then there was a very small clarification about cards that say when a player plays this card, their abilities. Nobody was doing that wrong. It was just a small clarification in the rules. So, not a whole lot to talk about over there. Okay. Which brings us to the cards that change. And we're going to start with the big one. Fluttershy Stunning Wonder was, shall we say, dominant to some extent in core. And so, strike 2, we're moving her aside, and we're going to try, well, Sim is going to try a third time with this ability.
She was so nice we banned her twice.
Yeah. It goes to show, Like, way back when we were still talking about what was the name of that card? It was
Growing confidence.
Growing Confidence. Yeah, Stunning Wonder was a pretty obvious downgrade from what that card was. And seemed, oh yeah, that seemed pretty reasonable. And now here we are, and it's still far too good. And so here we are now with Hidden Strength. It is still only the first time, and now it is only dilemmas, not problems. Well, not
And only for the first time.
Yeah.
So no Royal Guard shenanigans.
Mm-hmm. So, it is pretty clear that this is a pretty significant downgrade for the card. I think it is still probably comparable to where, say, Nurturing Nature is. Like, it is still... You do still get the value for playing Dilemmas, which is what Yellow still wants to do. It obviously is still an aggro main. It's still quite possible to build your deck to take advantage of it.
Yeah, still an easy flip.
Mm-hmm. I think actually what I'm most interested in seeing is if it still pairs up with blue or goes some other direction. Because you're not as incentivized to do problem face-offs anymore.
Yeah, but what else plays dilemmas?
Pink sometimes.
Not even close to dilemmas that blue gives you, though.
Grandpa says Fink. Oh yeah, you're
mean-
locked in. Yeah, you're locked in here with me. Does count as a dilemma, doesn't it?
So are we getting our secret, what's the name, Hidden Strength Silver Stream deck?
Huh. Maybe. It's an interesting possibility.
If there was a time
If
for it.
ever there was a time for it, yeah. Yeah, especially given that blue, as we'll see, received a number of swings of the Nerf bat. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of most interested in with this card, is if it's going to, because I think it will survive and emerge. Not, it will become a choice now. If you're running Yellow, do you run Nurturing Nature? Do you run Thorax? Do you run this? They're all viable options, all at around the same power level. That's good for the metagame. But yeah, what is the direction this main goes in?
With it being only dilemmas, it is much less of a viable choice. Like, the text change is extremely small. It's a single word. But the implication is pretty big because dilemmas is like a thing that you sometimes play and you don't always have them, while the previous iteration was like problems are getting replaced all the time.
Yeah.
It was an easy value main, but now the value proposition is not as clear. Still, we'll see.
Yeah, admittedly, you don't play dilemmas just for their value anymore. Probably. I mean, I guess Stuck Together is still a great card.
Bugbo?
Buckball is still a great card. Like, yeah, I guess decks with this main probably would still play dilemmas just to be playing dilemmas, because that is the way to take advantage of your main.
Yeah.
And in that sense, perhaps blue is still the right way to go, because it has the best dilemmas other than yellow itself.
But like, if you pair with blue, would you choose this main or Seleno or Nurturing Nature or Thorax? Probably not Thorax though, but
Probably not Thorax.
Maybe Thorax. But yeah, like you have alternatives
For
which
sure.
are good.
Yeah.
Is there like any reason the blue-yellow decks were blue or yellow primary, other than the fact that this main existed?
Let's see. Starting problem didn't matter. Requirements didn't really matter. Not the early featherweight play was pretty powerful. Other than that, oh yeah, your blue entry card was a Pegasus. Grandpa's points out that was pretty good.
Fair enough.
Well, but those admittedly are not. I could see reasons to go the other direction. Obviously, going blue primary makes it easier to have a card like Grogar's Lair in your sideboard, which can obviously be very powerful against certain matchups.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I don't think the third iteration will be banned.
Yeah.
That's the statement I'm putting out.
I think that's pretty safe to say. It is kind of funny looking at it, honestly, seeing the, I think these are probably the cards where the reformed card's number is going to be as close to the original card's number as has ever been the case. Usually it's like 2 and 150 or something. And now we have 147 and 149 right next. Well, not right next to each other, but
yeah, Arrow might run out of Fluttershy at this point.
The barrel might be getting pretty dry. Yeah, and that is a point to emphasize. By the way, I don't have it here on the slide. These arts could change before February 17th, which is when this will properly take into effect. The text is final, though.
Fair enough.
Okay. Moving on. There is Rocket Scooter, turn to Rocket Cavalry. This is probably the most significant actual hit, well, aside from the main, to that yellow-blue deck. Because this card, for certain purposes, got quite a bit worse.
It's fine how all of the threes were replaced with twos, like all of them. If you see a 3 on a card, replace it with 2.
That is actually true.
The Rex changed, the Pegasus changed. Well, I guess that's it. But
well, yeah.
And I mean, other than the free stuff, it also enters play exhausted.
Yeah. So, yeah. Changes of it, yes. Goes to play exhausted, needs to be exhausted to use its retire to Pegasus Friends ability. So that's locked down for a turn. And as Hithrok said, all the threes became twos. So it is slightly easier Rex to get to. And it still is able to do the sort of self synergy thing because you only need to retire 2 Pegasi friends, and that's what you get. But much less useful for the trickery of moving Pegasus tokens at immediate speed.
Yep.
Oh yes, that is also a good point that Grandpa's brings up. That also the leaves play ability is only on dismissal, not leaves play for any reason. So purple.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Purple resource removal is actually good, and yes, white resource removal is generally a banish as well, I think. And also,
Kata Jack. In a way, Kata Jack also kind of counters this time.
yeah, because
that's a retire.
It's a retirement, yes.
Wow, so many words to say. Can't leave play. Anyway, yeah, this is cool.
It's a good stays in the same general spirit of the card, but yeah, just tones down all of the kind of ridiculous aspects of it.
I mean, in a way, it's a buff because now you retire 2 friends to dismiss a resource instead of 3.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be much less of a hit to your board if something else happens to those Pegasus tokens, and or for whatever reason you're going to retire 2 actual Pegasus friends.
Yeah.
Say, for example, because you wanted to get rid of multiple resources on the opponent's side. Actually, yeah, if you have some other source of Pegasus tokens, this is a much more efficient way to do mass resource removal on the other side.
Well, not really mass. It's 1 per turn, but yeah.
Oh, exhaust. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Still, you could get multiple uses out of it.
Yeah. The Rex change? Do you think the Rex change really affects anything?
It's not going to matter for blue-yellow.
Yeah, that's
for like the traditional deck. It like 2 is the magic number for tricolor because of Bloodstone Scepter. Not that I don't necessarily know what kind of deck that looks like, but it does put it in that area.
Yeah.
But in general, yeah, I think this probably still goes in the regular blue-yellow deck, such as it will exist. It's still a fine option against resources, and it's still a fine trick, even if you have to wait a turn for it.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, what kind of deck would not be able to run this before but could now because it is a lower deck? And I cannot come up with any deck.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it'll be relevant in the future.
There's always a future. You never know what might come. Now I think about it, blue yellow white has been a thing before, right? A long time ago, but
Is it?
wasn't like way back at the start of in Camelot Knights era. That was what the aggro deck was, blue yellow white. Or am I misremembering?
Oh, that's too long for me.
Oh well, yeah.
I am the new fac. New player. I'm
Right.
came in master Marks and Time era. So
Right.
a
Yeah.
greenhorn.
Yeah, not since then, I don't think. Blue yellow has like often been together, but rarely in a 3-color deck.
All right.
All right. Yes. So that brings us to the problems. As mentioned, 3 problems, all New Dawn, all 2 of them blue. So here we have final question. Moving over into rules technicality. Exact same numbers, except that the effect is just symmetrical. If the opponent confronts it first, they also get the bonus points.
Is this premier symmetrical effect
On
on the problems?
Yeah, symmetrical effects on problems, and also, I mean, this is just how problems worked back in Premiere.
Yep.
So yeah, this is a fairly minor change. Card is still.
Is it?
I think I would argue that it is.
Well, like, it is now a huge risk to have this problem in play, right? Because if you do a double face-off, and as an aggro like you usually do,
Mm-hmm.
and this problem shows up, now instead of happiness, you get sadness because your opponent will confront it and get 2 points.
Yes.
6 is not that hard to get, even for a control deck.
Yeah.
So this change is like, I think it's quite a drastic change to the card. And yeah, as we know that symmetrical effects are often not that symmetrical, but I think in the scenarios when this card would show up in an aggro deck, it would usually be on your opponent's turn. Like they would have a chance to confront it. So that's pretty substantial, I would say. And
Yeah.
also, I don't think you want to put this card on top of your deck with Discord anymore, simply because of this change. Like before, it was like the number one play, right? You play Discord to put Final Question on top, but now I don't think that's worth it.
Yeah. Well, so that's like you would do that in a match against like another aggro deck, because then you're telling the opponent, if you DFO, you're giving me first crack at Final Question.
Yeah, but now you also get 2 points, which is a lot. Or give away 2 points to the opponent.
Well, yeah, if you do the DFO, yes. Like sorry, I meant you put it on top, saying that you're not going to do the DFO. If your opponent does, then they're giving you. And sorry, it's rules technicality, not Final Question, but yes.
Same thing.
Right. Like, yeah, my thought was that, like,
yeah, I get it. I guess you.
If this comes up on your opponent's turn, they're still going to play the same way they would have played if it was Final Question. Like, they're still going to rush to confront it as soon as possible. And yes, they get 2 points as a reward for that now, rather than just preventing you from getting 2 points, which is a fairly significant swing, I suppose.
Yeah, it is a big swing, I think. 2 points is a lot of points.
It is.
And especially since you mentioned the game plan for the opponent does not change. And even then, if you really think about it, it's not really 2 point difference.
It's a
4
point
swing.
swing.
Yeah, because your opponent does not get the points.
Mm-hmm.
While you do, and vice versa.
Which isn't, well, yeah, that isn't. In an aggro versus aggro match, that's massive. In a control versus aggro match, maybe less important.
That's massive if you have a
little bit
time
less
limit.
above. Well, yes. 2 point, yeah. 2 points for a control in a Swiss match is huge. Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I think the upshot of all this discussion is to say that yeah, it is no longer an automatic include in blue decks necessarily, which is interesting actually because you can't sideboard for your problem deck, so you really need to. Oh, sorry, what?
Yeah, you can't. I was confirming.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. So quite a bit more thought necessary in terms of which match. Anima pointed out in chat that in the blue versus blue matchup, you're probably fine with it, which makes sense. I mean, it's about equally likely who's going to be starting the face-offs, so you have about as much chance of benefiting from it as your opponent does in the blue versus blue aggro situation.
Blue versus blue makes kind of the game kind of swingy. Like you could be ahead and then you flip into final rules technicality, and then your opponent flips into rules technicality, and then they score like 4 points because of that.
Yeah.
I would prefer to not see this card at all in my blue versus blue matchup.
Well, it could just as easily be that the shoe is on your foot, though.
Yeah, but that's kind of random, isn't it? Like, can't really control it.
I don't know. I guess some players like random.
Some players do like random. So what we're saying is should be a pink problem.
Kind of, yeah.
Actually, I don't know anyone who likes random. It's such a bad keyword.
It is. I mean, you're not wrong there.
Well, I'm curious to see what will be in the future for this card.
Yeah. I think we'll still see some of it, at least for a little bit.
I think so too.
Maybe there will be a sort of phasing in period where players haven't yet fully grasped the risks associated with it. and then it'll be gone forever after that, but there'll at least be a little bit. And if it is in the meta, from a commentator, from a watching perspective, I appreciate the amount of like even more heightened anticipation on those problem replacements, even more than it was in the Final Question era.
Mhm. So when do we get blackmail in core? Symmetrical blackmail. There we go.
Metrical blackmail. That would have been a very different problem, that's for sure. All right, moving on. We come to the other blue replacement. I actually didn't realize until I put these two side by side that the art is just
This is the same
zoomed in.
art.
Yeah. Don't know if that's going to be staying the same or not. But yeah, this is also pretty much the exact same card, except that you now pay 1 for the move instead of paying nothing.
Yeah, which is infinitely more than 0.
Relatively speaking, yes.
And I think this card will still see play. I think Bluna will definitely run it.
Oh yeah, well Bluna will definitely run it. What I'm more interested in, honestly, I know Pancake's here. I've seen him in the chat. Tarnish Reputation was a favorite farm problem too.
I think you still run it. No, I guess not. Why not? Do you not play a Troublemaker and then move for 1? Or move for 1 and then play a Troublemaker? Isn't that still really good?
Well, I mean that sounds good. In the sort of standard core of Blue Farm, you open with well, your main is Seleno, which means you do require a little bit more setup. You can't just farm on your second turn.
GP mentions that under the new first turn rules, 50% of the time this is identical to how it functions now. Not really, because you don't draw a card.
Yeah, with the exception of the card draw, it is the same, yes.
Which also costs you 118.
As if you win first. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. But you didn't go first, though.
Right, and yeah, Pancake has the good point that like with Tarnish there was no cost to going for it against a Troublemaker. You always just had the free move back. Whereas in this case,
yeah,
it's the one cost. So yes, in Adventure, Luna still uses this absolutely. Although admittedly, Luna's other option was always Train Traditions, and that's still it's definitely closer, right? You do have the Angel Wings opener. That's always been a very strong opener if you're playing Train Traditions.
Yeah, but I think Luna does well enough without training that she will still run this problem.
Probably, yes.
We'll see. Maybe it'll be like a split. Like some Luna players like trading traditions more, some like discard more. Well, that'd actually be cool.
That would be amazing if that was the case. Like that would be the ultimate balancing act, and I would congratulate Sim on having done it, having printed a problem that people actually consider playing other than Train Traditions that is not just amazingly better.
Yeah. Yeah, like balancing on the same level as training traditions is the most powerful problem.
Is okay in Adventure.
Yeah.
As long as you don't blow up core to do it. But yeah, well, we've had this discussion with Farm, and I think certainly when it comes to that area, I kind of defer to Pancake as the guy with the wisdom in that area. But it's always been a resilient archetype, and I'm sure it'll find its way back.
Yeah. Next card.
Sure. Alrighty, so the orange starting problem from New Dawn, Under the Weather, moving to Back to Work. This is another fairly tiny textual change, but a pretty important one. Sorry,
Yep.
excuse me.
One thing I kind of wanted to point out is the card on the right has a screen cap from like season 1, episode 3, which is basically the first episode other than the premiere. And it's funny to see the contrast, right, between the left card and like the left card has like bright colors and everything, and the other one is like a little more dull. And you can definitely see that in the show if you like switch between episodes.
That is actually pretty interesting when you look at it. Yeah, the saturation is much greater over there on the left.
Yep, they throughout the show they like were increasing saturation. Things were much more colorful than in the earlier seasons. Anyway,
Yeah. So yeah, the practical difference is that rather than paying 1 AT per character you want to ready, you just pay 1 AT if you want your characters to ready.
pretty
So
big.
yeah. It means that opponents who are kind of under this, as it were, under the weather, shall we say, are not going to have to. Well, yeah, really, you're still going to have to choose. Well, sometimes it might be okay to not pay the 1 AT and just keep your AT for later. But yeah, you can choose just to pay the 1 and get everything.
Well, before that problem was basically like a tax. You have to pay 1 for every like whenever your opponent exhausts a friend, you have to at some point pay 1 to ready it unless you replace the problem, of course. So in a way, exhaust was basically a tax. Make your opponent pay 1 AT, which is I guess similar to Frighten, right? In a way. But exhaust effects are usually balanced around the fact that they're not as powerful.
Yeah.
Over soft removal.
Yeah.
So the new card is much more permissive. You just pay 1 to ready everything. Very nice.
Well, everything that would have normally readied.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I must say that I also, because it is now a card that messes with the standard steps and phases, I like it much better as a just as it's designed that way. I always love cards that skip steps or duplicate steps or anything like
What
that.
was the card that skips score phase? There was one.
Get this. I am coming up blank.
Pretty sure there was a card that did that.
Well, let's see. I can drive up one of these that's not. All right. Well, to the Royal Archive. This is a good opportunity to use it.
Soon to be reworked.
Yeah, little advert for you there as well. So, game text score phase.
Heiden's Quick Fluttershy. That sounds right.
Wasn't that the one that skipped the Troublemaker phase? I thought Hide and Squeak skipped the Troublemaker phase.
Perhaps.
View that reference score phases. All right,
There are
score
a
phase.
lot of cards that reference score phases.
Oh, this timing triggers from way back when. Da 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 da. I should also. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's what I should do. Also put in the query skip.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything doing that.
For your information, I just typed it in normally there rather than using the buttons.
Yeah. But no. What I was asking there is, did you actually input like game text colon skip and game text colon score, or
The
did you
first
just type in words?
the first time I used the interface. The second time I typed in game text colon skip.
Okay. Well, I hope you'll not be too upset if the syntax changes a little bit.
It's all right.
You know, you can just type skip without anything else and see all of the cards that skip something.
Well, wouldn't that
Which,
search for the name, or does it?
well, if you do game text colon skip, it would be just text.
Oh, right. Oh, do you not have to do game text colon quotation marks skip? No, that's only for spaces. I guess, right?
Yeah, quotation marks if you want to.
Right.
Exactly true. Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, I don't see a card that does that. Maybe I hallucinated it, but
Yeah.
there is Trixie, which skips ready phase, which I knew already.
Mm-hmm.
There is Hide and Squeak, which skips Troublemaker phase, and there's this card. I guess. Why didn't I was so sure there was a card that did that? Oh well.
Yeah. And there's been a number of cards that have duplicated steps, mainly duplicating like confront steps.
Yeah.
And I guess strictly speaking, there was that Starlight Glimmer that gave you an extra ready phase as well.
Also, it's funny now that I see Trixie and this card alongside each other. Ready step and ready phase are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be confused. The ready phase is like the entire thing where you gain AT, ready cards, draw a card, I think, is part of the ready phase. But ready step is only when you ready your cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I can actually see people potentially being confused by that. But yeah, good to point out. Okay, that was our tangent for today.
Yep.
As far as the card itself goes, so this was, well, obviously, a card used in mono orange, which basically, well, it was either orange. There was Orange Farm and Orange Control were both in use. Both probably still use this. I mean, it's still a problem optimized for being a mono orange deck. Oh yes, Grand Pause. Good point. But this also gets the kind of side boost of affecting all cards that exhaust, not just friends or characters.
To be pedantic, also affects troublemakers, right?
It also affects troublemakers. Yes, mainly
Not just
useful on
resources.
that Grogar that gains action
That
tokens.
one troublemaker that exhausts.
Yeah. Which that it's not that card's never seen play. That card has seen play. So worth remembering.
It would be cool to have exhausting troublemakers be like an anti-troublemaker tool, because we don't really have that.
Mm-hmm. Like it.
Was it
Well,
close? Yeah, I was thinking there was some other troublemaker that exhausts.
yeah. So like exhausting a troublemaker is a pretty huge deal. Like it's except in certain circumstances, it makes you much more likely to defeat that troublemaker.
Yeah.
That's like it's almost all of the power in the face-off.
Yeah, and you still get to fight it, which
Yeah.
could be either a bad thing or a good thing. Like, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
the interesting way of removal.
There's certainly no reason in the rules that can't happen.
I mean, it already happens with some troublemakers.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's an interesting design space to potentially pursue.
What color would it get it though?
Let's see. It would have to be a color that doesn't have some other way of dealing with troublemakers already.
Pink,
Pink. Maybe. Maybe.
white banishes them.
Yeah. Yellow
Purple,
dismisses them.
purple doesn't really do anything with them.
Well, it gets more of them.
Yeah, yeah, but like against troublemakers,
Yeah.
purple is pretty weak, you know. Yeah. Interesting to see exhaust thing in purple.
Yeah, pink has problem replacement already, which is fair. So yeah, maybe.
And troublemaker exhaust might go into my deck as well, you know, like fighting my own troublemakers.
Mhm.
Anyway, oh yeah, purple turns them face down. Well, it could as
Right.
well exhaust them. That's fine.
Right. Maybe we come full circle and orange is a color that exhausts troublemakers.
Do you really want that?
As long as it's only opposing troublemakers. Anyway, is there anything else that you need to say about this card?
Nope.
Alrighty. That's all the reformations, right? We now move to the proper bands.
Yep.
Okay. Starting with one that I think we all knew was coming.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. Different Will has had two moments in the spotlight. First time it was somewhat charming for certain kinds of people. The second time it was much more problematic.
Yep.
Yeah. Having witnessed the operation of the adventure combo deck firsthand a couple of times in the Invitational, I can say now with a fair degree of certainty that it was often a bit of an exercise to provide interesting commentary. The way some of those games went. Once that deck got online, you kind of just couldn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, I think the main, like, I think the combo itself, honestly, was fine. I think the primary issue with it is the fact that it disabled your ability to play cards. If it wasn't for that, I think it would be a much, much fairer combo.
Right.
But since none of your stuff had any power, you couldn't play any cards, and that's a bit much. We only had one other way to do that before, and well, maybe there's more ways, but like I know of one, and it wasn't that easy to get going.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with Grandpa's here that even just the movement loop was not.
I think movement loop is not as bad as not. It's literally locking the opponent out. You know.
I mean, it's still you're never going to confront a problem or.
Yeah, until you break the combo. Like it. The combo did not pack any protection against disruption because it didn't need to. It was easily disruptible,
Okay.
except nobody could play cards while it was in effect.
I mean, that's fair. It included parachute, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like not a whole lot, and still like disruptible. Like I don't know. It wasn't as vulnerable.
Right. I think Hithrock needs to play some games against a version that didn't have Novo in it or something to perhaps catch.
Yeah, I think the version without Nova would be fine.
As I said, I think Grandpa's I think already has a game scheduled after this, but I'm sure he'd be happy to educate you as to the error of your ways some other time.
Sure.
But yeah, this is the this. If that deck's going away, I think this is the most natural card to ban. admittedly, Follow My Lead has only been used for bad stuff, basically.
I'm the Lyra deck used it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Well, yeah. Okay, not bad per se, just stuff that's outside of the usual way.
like Lyra deck used it in a fair way, but also not in the intended way either.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody ever actually played Follow My Lead like in white to get 2 power.
Outside of limited, maybe. Yeah. Novo is part of a key entry cycle and a keyword cycle and just a general structure cycle, and isn't really the problem, unless you're Hithrock, apparently. So I understand not going there. Yeah, this card needed to go.
Yeah, fun card though.
Yeah. Oh no, she's always gonna be. She always get. Zipperwheel always gonna have her legacy. That's never going away. And now that she's banned, or well, will be in I guess a couple of weeks. Always the opportunity for at least something referencing this card to come into the game at some point. That's happened before.
Yep. When one of your creatures enters play here, pay 1 to move an opposing character.
Yeah.
Or exhaust this card to move an opposing character. When one of the creature friends actually. Yeah, I could see that. I could see a trigger when your creatures enter play. Exhaust the card to move something. You could make it so that you exhaust it, but it moves that many characters, how many creatures got into play simultaneously. I don't know
Ooh.
how you word that, but it'll
When
be a fun ability.
when any number of your critter friends enters play here, cost this card to move that number of opposing characters.
I guess so, yeah, but I don't think that specific wording would work in the given rules, but I'm sure there's a way to figure that out.
Hmm. Uh, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of ways to do it, but yeah. That admittedly, that's an interesting situation. Like with a Raptor Razor or something, you do some pretty fun stuff there.
Raptor Razor, even Friends Always There. Like,
Yeah,
Yellow has a bunch of stuff that puts many creatures into play at the same time.
that is admittedly an interesting direction to take yellow purple. Yeah.
There is the Cockatrice migration. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Which brings us to the final one.
the party is over.
Yes. Yeah. This is the one that I didn't see coming, even though I had 10 chances to guess it.
Head 5.
Yeah. Party Hard. Card we all know and love. Has only ever been used to do damage. And nothing else.
Yep. Yep.
And there's no reason to expect it will ever be used for anything other than nefarious purposes.
Yep. So now we can unban main 6.
Probably not.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's true.
No.
Admittedly, this was one of the cards that made main 6 really bad.
It was you play main 6 party hard, opponent concedes because there's literally nothing else they can do.
Yeah.
It was sure a time. It was a time.
But yeah. Yeah. And like, yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of this card around. But yeah, it's just true that like every time you did see it, it was with some deck that was using it to essentially win the game, if they could ever play it. And we are just in a better place without it.
Yep.
Yeah. It is also worth pointing out, by the way, I hadn't mentioned this. all of these bans that we had talked about were sort of, what would I call it? The most broad as they could be. These cards have been banned in all formats they were legal in. There were no like partial, only core but not adventure kind of things.
Yeah. Well, because all of them are reforms, except 2, which were.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sim could conceivably have kept these cards legal in Harmony and only banned them in Adventure, but they took them all the way out.
Yep.
But it's true about the reforms, yes. Yeah, I don't know if there's a whole lot that needs to be said here, really.
Nope.
Nope. Yeah.
There's. It was a card.
It was yeah. That's one of the things is if it didn't see a whole lot of play, there's not even much nostalgia to bring around to it. So yeah, I will just circle us back around. And that, yeah, those are the 7 changes plus rules. So all of that is to say that, as I kind of intimated in the announcement post for this stream, we are now kind of looking at what is going to be the Fond Memories meta 2.0. Much of the same cards around, just a little prize wheel, but all of the pegs that stuck up have been knocked down, and we'll be able to see where this is going to go.
Yeah.
Going into Continentals last year, everyone was thinking that the core meta was in a really good place. There seemed like there was a lot of stuff that was viable, and then Fluttershy came around, and we realized that wasn't the case. So, fingers crossed that we just go right back there. And we get
Fluttershy dominating the meta?
No, one step further back than that. These days, admittedly,
everything.
You'd never be surprised if you end up with Fluttershy dominating the meta.
Yeah, it's history repeats itself, I guess.
Yeah. But, well, yeah, I feel like Blue Yellow should still be okay. Should still be.
Still got all of the strong cards in it.
Yeah. It should have just been knocked down enough to not overpower everything, I hope.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And then, well, that brings us to the end of this stream. 2 weeks from now will be
what's gonna happen 2 weeks from now? Tell me.
Something completely different.
Ooh.
It will be middle of February, February 18th. For those who don't know, middle of February. We have no sort of exact date for it, but it's around the time that we celebrate the anniversary of Meticulous Talks as a stream. I think this is the 4th time or the 5th time. I really should be keeping track. It's
one of them.
It's something like that. Maybe it's the 5th time, and that means it's a really special one to celebrate. Who knows?
There's no way to tell that.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever know.
I could just go look at YouTube or something.
No.
But, well, actually, yeah, I know the first thing that we did was Defenders of Equestria review.
Oh, which must mean 2017.
17. So this must be the 5th
anniversary. Oh wait,
then.
Review like after it released?
After it released, yeah.
Then 2018.
February 2018. So
wait,
yes.
Does that? How? What? Hold on, no.
What?
Defenders released in summer 2017, followed by Sequestria.
Right. It was it wasn't the set review, it was the first spoilers. That's what
in that case, yes,
with.
it's 2017. Yeah.
20. Okay.
That's 6 years.
Okay, so this is going to be the special celebration because we didn't do one last year. Anyway,
We totally planned it that way.
absolutely. All of that is to say, so last year was a special year for me because I finally finished the custom set that I've been working on for a number of years since then, called The Great Game, and published sort of the Excel spreadsheet with generous help from Aracat over Commentaries Magic. We were able to generate pictures, proper placeholders, sort of test images for those cards. And so, 2 weeks from now, Hithrock and I are going to be playing each other in a core match with those cards in.
Yep. I'm bringing my Stunning Wonder Fluttershy.
Wait a second. I guess that actually will still be legal technically.
Yeah.
We should probably decide whether we're going to be playing with the old cards or not.
Oh, it's interesting. Document updates don't actually say when they come to the effect.
The Discord post said February 17th was going to be the.
Oh yeah, and it's just usually that info is in the document as well.
So yeah, we will be over the course of these next 2 weeks. We'll be picking out and building some decks. We're putting the restriction on that you can't just bring core meta. You have to be kind of building around.
Yeah, we'll keep
something in that new set. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have we'll be like faithful in the decks.
Mm-hmm. And I have some interesting ideas. I'm sure Hithrock probably has some as well.
I'll play purple.
I would be surprised if you didn't.
I mean, yeah.
And yeah, we'll. You want to do it live, or we'll probably do it live.
Yeah, there's no reason to, I guess.
Yeah. So that will be February 18th. Obviously, we'll explain the cards as we're going, so that there's no confusion over all these weird cards with...
I play Pot of Greed! That card allows me to draw 2 additional cards.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been looking forward to this for a while, so... and I should ask, because obviously you did the work to include those cards, make them playable in TTS.
I will do that work. I did not do it yet.
Okay.
I planned to do this weekend.
Is that going to be something that will be special just for us, or
will be special just for us? Yes.
Okay, I see.
It's harder to.
It's harder to make it for everybody. Okay.
Because Ponyhead doesn't if Ponyhead supported it, things would be so much easier, but it doesn't. So.
And it won't.
Yeah. Well. We'll see.
I mean, that's not my decision to make, but if I was running Ponyhead, I wouldn't, I'm not sure how you would put custom sets up there without potentially confusing people.
Seeing custom set, there are ideas how to do that.
Well, anyway. For now, 2 weeks from now, look forward to some probably... the way that we play, probably just one core game. But with custom cards.
Yep.
Until then, thank you everybody for coming out and chatting with us about these changes. This stream will be over on our YouTube channel Monday, probably. Well, yes, Monday. That's when I schedule these. And yeah, 2 weeks from now, come back for the custom match. Anything to say, Hithrock, before we sign off?
Nope. Trixie.
Of course. Till then, I have been Cursor Chords.
I've been Hithrock.
Bye.
Bye.